At number 5, we have Jose Trevino with a 77.0 mph average throwing velo. Trevino serves as a good example here of a catcher that doesn't need an exceptional arm to be effective at keeping runners from stealing constantly, as he makes up for this somewhat weak mark with a decent exchange time of 0.68, helping him to an actually slightly above average pop time of 1.99, and perfectly average totals of 0 for caught stealings above average and catcher stealing runs, which are two new StatCast metrics presented for the first time this year. Combine this with his elite framing and game calling, and you have what amounts to a perennial Gold Glove contender, despite a throwing velo slower than a lot of pitchers' curveballs. At number 4, we have Kiba Ruiz with an identical 77.0 mph mark. Now, despite the same velo as Trevino and a nearly identical 0.69 exchange time, Ruiz grades out as far below average in every metric possible in regards to his arm. His pop time, 5th worst in baseball at 2.05. His catcher stealing runs and CS above average, the worst in the bigs at -5 and -8, both nearly doubly as bad as the next closest backstop. All of that has fed into an abhorrent 8% caught stealing rate, with runners stealing 22 bases on him in just 25 attempts. Yikes. At number 3, we have Zunino at 76.6. For a second straight year, Zunino ranks amongst the MLB's worst arms behind the dish after starting his career with an arm that was seen as nearly average, as his once 83.4 mph mark during his 2016 campaign for the Mariners was perfectly adequate. What exactly caused this decline in velo is unknown, but it has affected him drastically on the pop time front, adding a full 0.05 seconds, bringing it from an above average 1.98 to a poor 2.03. However, oddly enough, this somehow has helped him increase his output at preventing steals, as his CS above average has actually gone from -3 back then to 0 this year, with him nailing over 20% of attempted base stealers in the process. At number 2, we have Yasmani Grandal at 76.3. Though never seen as having a strong arm, Grandal posted an above average pop time as recently as 2020, so suffice it to say, his MLB worst mark of 210 this year is certainly disappointing. This brings with it other extremely poor production outputs, such as American League worst totals of -5 catcher steals above average and -3 catcher stealing runs. You do have to give him credit, however, for still managing to throw out a not insanely bad 16% of runners so far. And in first place, with the weakest catcher arm in baseball, we have Austin Barnes with a 75.1 mph mark. In a season that has seen him post some of the worst offensive numbers in MLB history, it's his work behind the plate that has kept him getting starts. However, this certainly isn't true of anything to do with his arm, as he not only has posted the worst velo, but also some of the most abhorrent rate stats as well, with his -3 caught stealing above average and -2 catcher stealing runs being registered in far fewer games than the other players on this list. Oh yeah, and he's managed to throw out just one, yeah, you heard me right, one runner this year on the bases, leading to just a 4% caught stealing percentage.